Alright guys, so let's get to it here today. So we're going to take a tour of Xcode, the program we're going to use throughout this semester here to build our projects and our apps. So yesterday you got a little taste of it when you kind of played around with some of the labels and made that app that had some things about you, but let's just go through it a little more detail just so you know how to work through this program. So go ahead and open up Xcode if you don't have it opened already. Let's go ahead and we're going to create a new project. So go ahead and click on that middle option right here. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and get into the steps here. So yesterday we went through all this, but again, this is kind of the starting point. So you have different application objects, single view, game, master detail, page base, tab, sticker packs, and iMessage. So there's plenty of options here. All right, but the more advanced you get, the more you can use these other options, and they're all used for different reasons. We'll primarily be working with the single view application type within our projects here. So let's go ahead and make sure single view is selected and click next here. Let's go ahead and give this a product name. Let's call this one Hello World. Okay, so that'll be our first app name. And then from yesterday, you probably still have the same defaults in here, but if not, just make sure you've got a first and last name is fine for organization name, and your last name is great for the identifier. Now for the language, all right, we're going to always make sure that this is on Swift. Okay, if it's on Objective-C, we want to turn that over to Swift because all the lessons we'll cover will be based off of this language. And for the devices, we're going to keep it universal so that way it can be used on both an iPhone and an iPad. Don't worry about any of this stuff down below. So let's go ahead and click next. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and save this. I'm just going to put it on my desktop, so find a place for you to locate that. Click Create, and then give it a second. We are in business here, so we are back to our screen that we were working with yesterday. So let's give you a quick little tour here. And again, we've just created an app, all right, and just to kind of show you, again, I'm on my MacBook here, so I'll click the play button just so you can see what happens when you press the play button. We're still working on the issues on our Macs in our lab here, but hopefully we get that resolved here within the next day or two. When I hit the play button, okay, what happens is Xcode has a simulator option that simulates your app. So you probably just heard that bell in the background. But yeah, so as this loads up, let me just bring the simulator to the forefront. You can see you get basically what looks like an iPhone. So this is the iPhone 7 Plus. So rather large screen size here, but it's basically kind of in the initial stages of your app. You get to the home screen if you're an iPhone user you're familiar with, and then it loads up the app. So right now we've got an exciting app of a white screen, but you get the idea though that your app you can build and run it to see what it looks like. Okay, so we'll get back to that with a little more detail later. So here we are. So back within our Xcode tour. So the left column, all right, all the way over here is our project navigator. So this is where all the files are going to be located for our project. We'll talk more about these specific files as we go, but this is where kind of everything we do is going to be kind of controlled and saved over here. So all these view controllers and launch screens and infos all over here. And we'll cover each of those, and give you a little more idea. Over on the right, okay, this is the attributes inspector, okay, and this will become a little more meaningful. Well, actually, let's do this here. Let's click on main storyboard. Okay, so now that we're in our storyboard view here, we saw this yesterday. Here's our view controller. So again, this is the view the user is going to see. So when I click on this view controller, over on the right, we've got all our different attributes inspectors, and basically it shows different things based on what's chosen. So when I click on the attributes inspector, which is this middle icon, you can see I've got different features here, okay, that I can change and adjust my view controller. So when we start adding more to this app, we'll come back to the attribute inspector. But again, there's different icons up top here, and they're all going to be used for different reasons, okay, and we'll cover each of those when we get to them. On the bottom of the screen, in this bottom right corner, this is our object library. So this is where we're going to look for items to look for. So that's why don't we just kind of do a review of yesterday. So if you recall, we had typed in label down here, and it filtered out, and we got our label. So let's go ahead and do that again. Let's add a label onto our storyboard, and let's go ahead and drag it. I don't want it right in the corner like this because sometimes that messes up the view. Let's put that right kind of in this kind of top left corner where the two blue lines are meeting, and let go. Okay, so again, hopefully you remember doing that from yesterday. Okay, but again, that's within our interface builder, it's that easy to add a label on there. Okay, so again, this is the main view of the app. So let's go ahead and format this a little bit. Okay, so we're going to change the label name to Hello World. So to do that, make sure that your label has the white boxes around it. So now when you go to the attributes inspector, you'll notice we've got all these features we can do to update and change the label. So why don't we do this here? Let's go to the text feature here. Let's change that to Hello World. All right, you'll notice that our label changes to reflect that. Okay, and then why don't we do a couple other things there when you can drag it out there. So now just to show you kind of what happens here when I run my app. Okay, so now I'm going to play it again. You guys will be able to do this on your computers here, hopefully very, very soon. But once I run this, I now have an even more exciting app. Okay, so my simulator is loading up, thinking about just taking the changes right now. All right, so now within our app, look at that, hello world. So it's now showing up there. Again, not too involved right now, but starting small here. But again, it's progress. We made an app, we add a label to it, and it's showing up in our view when the app loads up. So this is that view controller that the user's seeing. Okay, so coming back into our Xcode here. All right, so just a kind of couple other last things to add to this kind of intro lesson here. So within our view controller, you've got this little arrow right here. That's just basically showing you that this is going to be the first scene that opens up when the user loads your app. All right, so you're always going to need to have that at some point. Another thing to look at, bottom left corner here, is our outline view. Okay, so this is basically the order of everything that's in here. So we start with a view controller, so that's the big rectangle, and it kind of matches up to the yellow circle. All right, and then we've got our view, which is basically everything inside the view controller. So you got a view controller, and then the views inside of it, and then now that we have a label on there, we have the label that goes underneath it. So everything you put on the view gets added there. So again, if I were to add another label here, and drop it below, you'll see a second label gets put on there. So anything you put on the view stacks up and orders there. So it kind of helps you keep things organized when we start getting a little more involved there. Okay, so same thing can happen there. Again, if, once you put on the label, you can format and change it up. However, if you wanted to change the view color, you could do that too. So why don't you go ahead and click on View. Now, if you come to your Attributes Inspector, you'll notice we have a little, not as many features, but we can change some stuff. So let's say we want to change the background color to blue. Okay, so there you go. It's a simple way to change your background color, all right, just by clicking on View and changing that. Okay, all right, and then again, so that's why the Attributes Inspector is so important, because it's basically how you can change some of the visual appearance of some of the items you're adding via Interface Builder. Okay, so now back to the outline. Okay, again, we always want to realize that again, everything that's going to be in our view or on this app will be in this outline view here that we like to work with. And to turn that off and on, it's this button right here in the bottom. So again, you can some people like to have it open, some like having it closed. Up to you, kind of whatever works best for you. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to show you on this screencast here is just the idea of what a view controller is compared to the storyboard. Okay, so eventually we're going to start getting into some code, showing you how to type some code to make changes on this screen. So to make that happen, every view controller, every storyboard item has to have a view controller associated with it. So the view controller.swift is what works and makes things happen and change on this screen here. Okay, so let's go ahead just to show you how this works here. Up in the top right corner, we've got some icons. So this is the standard editor. Let's go ahead and click on this one, which we call the assistant editor. So when you click on that, you'll notice that it opens up a split view. So we've got our storyboard on the left, and then we've got our code view on the right. Okay, so this is the view controller that's attached to this storyboard. Okay, so basically, it's any kind of code we put on here will impact this. Now, again, we won't get to that for a few days here, but it's just good to know that for every storyboard item you have, every kind of view or view controller, you have to have a view controller.swift file attached to it. Okay, so again, anything that you change, okay, on here that's where we're going to do our code. All right, so just a little kind of summary lesson there, not summary, just a little kind of intro lesson just to kind of touch on some of the things we kind of worked with a little yesterday, but also to get your feet wet with the program. So you got another app you just built there. Again, it just says hello world, nothing too exciting, but we're building. All right, so good job. Make sure, again, if you are having any questions or not sure, make sure you ask right away. Don't wait. Ask any of your code partners to help you out as well. All right, but we're all done with this one, so good job, and then we'll check in on our next assignment. Thanks, guys.